back to Into the Abyss. We are now into our horror movie reviews. I know Kevin's got a few of them. I have a few myself. So, Kevin, go ahead.
Okay, so recently, under the advice of some of my fellow horror hounds, I decided to dip my toes into the strange waters of Italian horror. Let me tell you, strange waters they are indeed. I came up with three of them that I enjoyed. It's definitely a different viewing experience. There's a kind of a dreamlike, surreal logic that goes with some of these movies. Obviously, there's over the top gore and things like that. And there's some interesting music choices as well. But three of them that I watched that I thought that were good, that I highly recommend, that are all on Shutter right now. The first one would be From Beyond. And it's again, it's a fairly classic tale. Basically, this guy in this hotel who's an artist or a painter has discovered this hotel sits on one of the many gates of hell. And a bunch of angry townspeople come and basically ritualistically murder him and kill him because he has some vague connections with the gate of hell. And at the same time, while they're killing him, some other random lady with blonde hair is reading the Book of Eben, which, if you're familiar with your Lovecraft, the Book of Eben is one of the many profane grimoires that has dark black magic in it and things like that. So many years later, this woman who has fallen on hard times comes into possession of the hotel, and she wants to open it up and renovate it for new customers. Obviously, this is a bad idea, and from the moment they start working there, their very first shot is a handyman or a construction worker trying to work on the house, and he falls and gets hurt and is dying, and all these things keep happening, basically opening the gateways to hell as they're trying to get this hotel ready to go. This actually took me 2 tries. The first time through, I was really thrown by some of the musical choices and the background score.
Yeah, I watched a couple of short Italian films, and the musical choices were like, what?
Well, I was it's kind of like when somebody's face is getting. I could deal with the dreamlike surrealness. I can deal with the overtop the gore, but like when people are like getting like they're eviscerated, and what you have is like a like a 70s guitar going. Now they went away from that as the movie continued. So as I tried my second time to watch it, they didn't do that anymore. Um, and it turned out to be a pretty. I was surprised at how affecting the ending actually was. And it was an interesting movie. Obviously, they never really do manage to close the gates of hell, but it was an interesting movie. From Beyond. Actually, it's either From Beyond or The Beyond. I can't remember. I think it's From Beyond. The second one that I watched was House by the Cemetery. This was also an is similar house sitting on a portal to hell, and these folks move out there. This one professor is trying to continue the research of like a mentor professor he had who went crazy and killed himself. And we soon come to discover that this house was owned by a mad scientist doctor who had learned how to prolong his life by feasting on the flesh of others. There's
As
also
you do.
there's also a weird ghost girl who warns this couple's son like a year before not to go there, and it was, again, this was not a bad film. This didn't have any of the weird musical choices. It was actually pretty atmospheric. Not a lot of gore in this one. This was actually a pretty good film. Wax Mask was the third one that I watched. These are all on Shutter, by the way. This was supposed to be a groundbreaking movie because it was supposed to have Dario Argento and Fulci working together for the first time ever. These are big Italian horror filmmakers. I can't remember which one, but one of them passed away right before they started the film. But Wax Mask was an interesting film, again, about this wax museum and this guy who's going around killing people and then turning them into wax statues themselves and keeping them like bizarrely alive. And it was an interesting movie and had a nice twist of an ending that I thought it was pretty enjoyable. My last film, and then we'll turn it over to Tom, is a modern film called The Editor. This is also on Shudder, but it's a wonderful send up of every single Italian horror movie you've ever seen. Basically, it's about an editor, a film editor, a down on his luck film editor who is not what he once was because he lost all of his fingers in a tragic accident and now he has wooden fingers. And he's the film editor on a Italian horror movie set. And people start dying left and right. And it's like, the editor is just wonderful because it takes and I don't know all the Italian horror tropes, but it just so happened that I watched a whole bunch of them in a row. Then I watched The Editor, and it was like literally you're watching, oh, that was from that, and that was from that, and the characters were all just these overdrawn spoofs. Yeah, I highly recommend. If you don't want to watch Italian horror, the real stuff, I would then recommend The Editor. It just kind of is a meta film that pokes fun at all of those Italian horror tropes, but it somehow manages to be a pretty interesting film. Also, Tom.
All right. Well, I got a couple movies as well. I finally watched the 2014 movie Unfriended. Directed and produced, and I'm going to die on this name here. Levon Gabrazi, I guess is his name. Now, it's a supernatural revenge movie, but it's also different because it's a completely online type of situation. You have these six friends who are in this little group chat, and unfortunately, it's the anniversary of the death of a former schoolmate, Laura Barnes, who committed suicide, and it was because a video was uploaded to the internet of her getting drunk at a party, then passing out and messing her pants. And unfortunately, it does take into account cyberbullying as well as just how much we've become a society of we better get it all on film first before anything. In fact, Laura Barnes shot herself in a park while someone was actually recording it instead of trying to call the cops or trying to stop her in the first place. Well, anyways, as the movie's going on, you realize it's definitely the ghost of Laura Barnes come back for revenge against these six teenagers. What I really like is, turns out these six kids are not really victims, okay? They were actually bullies themselves. They were pretty two-faced. They bullied Laura mercilessly from their keyboard, by the way. I'm sure like they were friends with her face-to-face. But when things went sour, everything from telling her to kill herself to just being as cruel as possible. So you really didn't feel any type of remorse for these kids who, well, actually turned out when they were failing the games that Laura was playing, including have them tell her deepest secrets how they screwed each other over. If they failed any game, then a person died and it looked like they committed suicide. And I did like it. I think it did reach a lot into the whole issue of online cyberbullying and how just wrapped up we are in the tech world that we don't see each other as human beings anymore. One thing I had a problem with, it was a little disorienting because we were seeing it from a computer screen and they had so much going on. I actually got a little dizzy watching it. So I think it might appeal to younger generation who can understand that. But I think it worked off pretty well. But it also brought up something I was thinking about for horror movies as well, where the victims are kind of just scumbags and you just can't wait for them to die in the first place. Next one I watched was Demonic, a 2015 movie directed by Will Cannon, starring Frank Grillo and Maria Bello. That's kind of a misnomer because they weren't central to the plot and they really should have been. It just was dealing with a group of college ghost hunters who went to a house hoping to, catch video evidence of ghostly paranormal activity.
I like the disdain in his voice. college ghost hunters.
No, it's not. Oh, they're in college, so they're dumb. It's just the way that the movies treat them. Like, okay, well, let's go here. Well, we got evidence. Okay, we should go. No, we must get more. We're staying here until we get more. Do you understand? If I was in a horror movie, being normal, okay, not being a trope or anything, my first instinct is like, you want to stay here? Fine, I'm leaving. Bye. That's it. I mean, no, because Frank Grillo was a police officer investigating a mass murder of that group, and Maria Bello was his wife. I think they were sorely underused. These are two phenomenal actors. Love to see more of them used, but oh no, let's get these young unknowns who really just, and it was the same thing. You didn't feel any type of fear or concern for any of them. I mean, most of them were just a bunch of jerks who were like, oh, hey, I got a great idea. Let's bring the Ouija board and connect with the spirits. I'm a progressive, forward-thinking guy, but I don't mess with Ouija boards. I don't do that nonsense, okay? Now, Eerie is a 2019 Filipino horror movie directed by Mikal Red. And maybe it might speak to us, Kevin, though we're not as this bad. It takes place in a girls' Catholic boarding school, run by very cruel nuns, by the way. Now, that doesn't speak to us. Our nuns are, well, one's pretty nice. Well, anyways, the school is being haunted by the ghost of a former classmate who killed herself, and they didn't call them bathrooms, they called them comfort rooms in the last stall of the bathroom there, sort of thing. And you have this guidance counselor who's trying to help the girls, but she has her own issues too. The setup was pretty good, and I think for Filipino horror, they're going in a different direction. The ghost causes people to fly into murderous rages and kill their loved ones. And I mean, it wasn't too bad. They could have worked on it a little bit more, but I did like the setting behind it because here we go. Let's add in the religious drama of the Catholic Church, but also a very creepy setting. I mean, it was creepy in terms of the girls had to sleep on the floor while the nuns told them to pray for their sins and all that. I think Bridget told me to do that once or twice. I probably deserved it. It was an okay movie. Had to do subtitles, but not too bad. So I mean, there's a lot of hit and misses on some of these. I just know that if you're gonna watch the movie, try to understand it more. If you're gonna make a movie, make sure you employ the actors who should be the big name stars a lot more than trying to push these unknowns because they gotta do their own work. All right, but that is it.
Well, actually, I have a couple
I
recommendations.
like demonic, so
They didn't use enough Frank Grillo. Okay, more Grillo.
more Grillo, more Grillo, more Grillo.
So, sorry, I've been over here trying to. I don't know how the Shutter app lets you look up previously watched movies. I'm like, oh, there's a movie I watched that was actually pretty good. I've been over here trying to find it, but I have a couple recommendations for what not to watch. One of them
These
is
are reviews, not
these are reviews, yeah. One's on Shutter, and that's The Headhunter. I was actually kind of excited to watch this because I'm a big fan of Beowulf, and this had a very much a Beowulf vibe. You have a Viking era monster hunter. It seemed really cool. I watched the trailer for it. It's a movie that was probably hindered by its budget. I'm gonna be honest. It had a neat setup. They have a kind of unspeaking hero and stuff like that. And that's fine if you're familiar with like Beowulf and story. I don't need a lot of plot on it, but it was a fairly short movie, and they did what they could with the budget, and that was about it. It didn't go anywhere. I mean, they had some stuff that there's just literally one character. It gets a message from the local town about what to deal with. It's kind of aimless in terms of the big reveal, and they wanted to go in some interesting places, but I felt this movie only had half the budget what it wanted to do, and so they had to make some hard choices. So it was interesting, but I feel like I would have liked to seen the creators work with a better budget on that one. So that was one where it just didn't pan out. The other one, I was furiously looking up here. I just found it, and that is Santa Jaws. I watched this over the Christmas break. I just looked it up.
You can just tell. You can just tell right now.
So imagine a killer at Jaws, but the shark is in like a boat harbor and he has a Santa hat. I'm smiling because I just looked this up. I'm like, so what was this year? Was this movie made in like 93, 94? This movie was made in 2018. The reason I was thinking like mid '90s is because if you're my age, you might remember those really cheesy action movies for kids that they used to make back in the '90s, like Three Ninjas or something like that. They used to have terrible plots, terrible acting. They're just bad all around. Like there's no redeeming qualities of it, but it just sticks with you. That was Santa Jaws, but except it was made in 2018. Like you're just wanting everybody in this family to die. Like one family member dies, and everyone else in the family is like, "Oh shucks, well this is a problem." This is I don't know who this movie's made for. This is one where it's almost bad enough it's good, but it didn't quite stick that landing. It's just plain
Just say it's a bad movie.
It's just plain bad. I love terrible movies. I'm a big fan of Mystery Science Theory 3000. I wanted to laugh at it, but I'm just watching like, no, this is like a '90s made-for-TV kids movie. So, Santa Jaws. When Christmas rolls around, don't bother. It's not. There's not enough alcohol in the world to enjoy it.
There you go. There's our do's and don'ts for movies this time around.